All right, let's get right into it. If you're someone who is just constantly cold, constantly tired, and really just feeling like you're running on fumes, you know how incredibly frustrating that is. So today, we're going to unpack that whole experience, but we're going to do it through the lens of the baseline method. It's a framework that really helps us listen to our body's signals, and I promise you, it offers a totally new way to understand what your body is actually trying to tell you.
So, does this sound like you? That kind of deep-in-your-bones feeling of being chilled from the inside out, and it's paired with a fatigue that, no amount of coffee even makes a dent in. It is a super common experience for sure, but it is absolutely not a normal state to be living in.
And let's get really specific here. We are talking about way more than just feeling a little bit tired. It's the cold hands and feet, right? Even when you're in a warm room. It's that relentless low energy, that brain fog that makes even simple tasks feel like climbing a mountain. Maybe you feel like your digestion has just slowed to a crawl, or maybe you've noticed you feel so much worse when you just have to stand still for a while. If you're nodding your head right now, you are definitely in the right place.
Okay, now this is probably the most important shift in thinking we're going to make today. Your body is not broken. It is not failing you. What it's doing is intelligently adapting to the signals it's getting from your world. Things like chronic stress, not eating enough, or just constant mental demand. These symptoms, they're just the result of that adaptation.
I absolutely love this quote because it just nails this idea perfectly. That fatigue and that coldness you feel? Yeah, that's just the bill. It's the downstream effect. The real issue, the thing we actually need to look at, is the upstream compensation your body had to make just to keep you going in the first place. So the key concept we need to understand is something called readiness. Just think of it like your body's capacity to handle all the stress and demand of life without having to cut corners or compensate. When your readiness is low, your body has to start borrowing resources. It has to downregulate things it sees as non-essential, like generating a lot of warmth, and it has to conserve energy. And that is what leads to this whole cold and fatigued pattern.
So, you see, we really need to shift our focus. The old way of looking at this was all about calories in, calories out. But the baseline method reframes this whole thing as regulation balance. It's not just about the energy from food, it's about how well your entire system can regulate the real fundamentals, like your body temperature, your breath, your circulation, and your stress response.
And to figure out how to restore that balance, Baseline gives us a brand new map to work with. It's called the metabolic loop. Now, this isn't about speeding up your metabolism in that old-school sense. A better way to think of it is as the operating system that runs the show, the system that governs how your body actually produces and distributes all its energy.
And this operating system, it runs in 5 steps, and they happen in order. It always starts with regulation, which is basically feeling safe and stable. From there, you can sense internal cues like hunger. Then you can process your fuel, produce energy, and finally, re-regulate to adapt and recover. The key is, each step has to work for the next one to have a shot.
Now, what's so cool about seeing this laid out visually is you really get that clear, sequential progression. You can't just decide to jump to the produce phase and demand more energy from your body if the foundation isn't there. You've got to start at the very beginning with regulate and build a solid base. It's a system, and believe me, the order really matters.
And this table just brilliantly ties it all together for this cold and fatigued pattern. You see the signs we've been talking about. You can see the drivers like low warmth and chronic stress. So here's the absolute kicker. Even though the symptom, the problem you feel, is a breakdown in that produce phase, a lack of energy, the solution starts all the way back at the regulate phase. We have to restore that feeling of safety first.
So, if the problem is a system that feels unsafe and is trying to conserve every bit of energy it has, then the first step can't be to push it harder. The very first step is to signal safety and gently, slowly restore warmth. This is the bedrock of the entire approach. In the baseline method, we call this the reset phase. And the goal here, it's simple, but it's really profound. We have to convince your nervous system that the danger has passed. And we do that by focusing on the absolute fundamentals. Deep, calm breathing, getting properly hydrated, and just making digestion as easy as we possibly can.
Now, to make this idea a little more real, let's use what we call the honey analogy. Think about your body's connective tissue, your fascia. When your system is cold and compressed, that tissue becomes like cold honey. It's thick, it's slow, it's viscous, and that really messes with circulation and fluid movement. But when we restore warmth, it becomes like warm honey, fluid, smooth, and mobile, and that is what allows for better energy and signal delivery all throughout your body.
Okay, so how do we actually start walking down this path? What are the real, practical, actionable steps we can start taking to begin regulating the system and gently building that warmth back into the body? Before we even list out the things to do, we have to get this core rule down. Gentle wins, period. Your nervous system is way faster and way more powerful than your willpower. So if you try to force change with intense workouts or super strict diets, a threatened system is just going to brace even harder against you. So we don't force, we send signals of safety. So what do these signals of safety actually look like in practice? Well, they look like this. Increasing warm, easily digestible carbohydrates to provide quick energy and signal that there's plenty around. Making sure you're getting enough protein for tissue repair. Checking that key nutrients for your thyroid and for oxygen transport, like iron, are where they need to be. Using gentle breath-focused movements to open up the ribcage. And of course, the big one, actively reducing the overall stress load wherever you possibly can. If you're going to remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this simple action map. If you are feeling cold and fatigued, then the first two things to do are to add warm carbohydrates to your meals and consciously reduce your stress load. It is the most direct way to start sending those signals of safety. So, what's the big takeaway here? What does this all boil down to? It's really about gaining a completely new and, frankly, a much more compassionate perspective on why you feel the way you do. It's not some kind of personal failing. And that all leads to this final, absolutely crucial idea. The goal here isn't just to make you more flexible or to push yourself harder. The real goal is to make your entire system more responsive, able to sense what's going on and adapt to it efficiently, without having to fall back on those protective, energy-draining compensation strategies.
So I really want to leave you with this one question. What if that fatigue, that feeling of being cold, what if it isn't a flaw in your body or a flaw in your character? What if it's just a very intelligent, very clear signal that your system is asking you to restore safety? When you start to see it that way, everything changes.